Hello, I'm Dominic Steinhauer. I'm one of the senior lecturers here at the University of North Dakota. And for right now, we're going to be going through and showing you the student machine shop and discussing different things that are utilized. So why don't you come on in. So before we get started, I do have to mention students are required to bring their own safety glasses, as I have mine set with me right now. If for some reason they do not have it or forget, sometimes it happens, we do have a few over there. We have some cleaning wipes put next to it to be able to wipe them down, as well as we have some hearing protection next to that as well. Hearing protection is not required for all the time that you're in the shop, but at any point where there are any kind of machines running, then we need to be able to put them in. So from here we'll wander this way and we'll take a look at, we have our fire extinguisher, we have some more signage about safety and safety glasses, and as we move over to here, we do have a sink. This can double as an emergency eye wash station. We do have a full professional grade one next door in the professional shop. Now, if you've watched the video on the professional shop as well, we'll show you later on where the doors connect. And typically during operational hours of when this is available to students, the professional shop is available as well, where we have a trained technician that can help students with projects, help teach students how to properly utilize equipment, and just kind of overall keep an eye on everything that's going on in the lab outside of class. Now, speaking of class, this classroom is utilized for a few different design project classes, but one of the main ones that I work with it is for Manufacturing Processes Lab, the ME418 lab. So that's where I'm the lead instructor for that. So if we want to come around this way a little bit more. Before we pan too far, I'm going to ask you to pan right behind you, and up on the shelf there we do have our fully stocked first aid kit that's available. There's also a fully available first aid full cabinet as well next door in the professional shop. And from there we can wander on and start talking about some of our equipment. Right here we have a couple of our digital lathes. We have some older lathes that are utilized there. These are utilized to teach students turning operations. Now, before students are even let anywhere near there, we have to make sure that they're fully aware of the safety requirements. This is basically true for all equipment here in this room, making sure any kind of hair is tied back, making sure you don't have loose dangling clothes, strings off of hoodies or anything like that need to be tucked in. Beards much longer than mine, make sure you don't put your face into something that's going to take it off. Anything in that regard, making sure that nothing is going to be able to get into any of these spinning pieces of equipment. Another thing I mentioned strongly with the students as well is even things like these keys and chucks to be able to open and shut the jaws on this. We do have them so that they're spring loaded so they can't really get left inside the chuck itself. Because if that was to be left inside and then the machine turned on, especially if it was at a high RPM, this thing could fly up, hit the ceiling, hit another student, hit yourself. We don't want to have flying projectiles or any other forms of blood on the machines. All right, so we'll keep continuing on this way. You can see here we have a few different other workstations, just space for design projects, signage to hopefully keep things clean and orderly. Over in here we have a station for soldering and kind of more electrical components, anything with that. We'll walk back here a little bit further. We have one of our brakes. Now, before students are given free rein on this, they have to learn about pinch points with any of these things. The last thing we want to do is leave a finger in the machine. or anything with that. There's also signage on how thick a material that's recommended for any of these machines. You'll see on a couple other ones, there's also signage as well to giving a max thickness. Last thing we want to do is to try to bend something that's going to bend the machine versus bend the material. All right, so we'll keep walking back this way. Right on here, we have a couple of grinding and sanding pieces of equipment. Now with these, we want to make sure that we do not wear any gloves or anything with that. Last thing we need is something in our fingers that could catch on this and pull it right into another pinch point here. So we want to make sure that our hands are free and being able to pull away from whatever. Also, making sure, again, no long sleeve or anything like that can get into there. All this is discussed with the students before they're given free access to anything with this. Have a couple of different band saws that are available, vertical and a horizontal, for cutting different equipment, or not equipment, for cutting different pieces of material. Again, students need to learn how to utilize these properly first. The whole purpose of that is, again, no blood on the machines. And if we'll pan over to our left over here by the exit door, we can see we have a fire extinguisher on one side and we have our fire alarm on the other. And we'll come on over to here. This is another one of our lathes. This one is actually set up specifically and specially to be able to record and do data off of the cutting force that's being applied, so that students can learn and understand what kind of forces are being applied during a turning operation. There's another computer that could be modularly attached to this and run data from it. From there, we'll cycle over here. You want to come back over to where I am, and I'll walk around so we can see some of these pieces of equipment. Right here, we have two other mechanical brakes. Again, we need to worry about pinch points. You can see we have some signage on the max thickness that's available. Come back over this way a little bit more. Here we have two milling machines. Again, when students are first learning how to utilize these properly, safety instruction is done. Instruction on how to set them up properly, so they're going to get a nice, good milling operation versus just something that's going to leave an unprofessional edge or anything with it. Spinning material or spinning equipment like this, again, we have to make sure that we're not going to get something caught in it, clothes, hair, beards, anything of that sort. Coming over here, we have another milling machine. This one is utilized for friction stir welding. You can see here the door is shut currently right now because the machine shop is closed, but through that door is our professional shop. So this is one of the connection points between the two shops. Students can go back and forth to be able to get instruction from one of the technicians that we have available. That technician can also come over here, kind of help supervise some of the space when we're not in active class. Next we'll move back. Here's one of our first of a few drill presses. Again, we've got to make sure we're safe because of spinning equipment. Behind that, we have a buffing and a grinding wheel. Again, the gloves are important, making sure we're not doing any pinch points. Next to that, we have our shear. Goes without saying, but pinch points again. You get your big toe in there, I'll be impressed. But making sure we don't harm ourselves at all with that. Even some signage on here, multiple times of no stainless steel. We want to make sure that we're using material that this machine is capable of handling. Back over and come around here a little bit, being able to utilize and see the last of our two drill presses Behind the drill presses, you can see different equipment for holding components while they're being drilled, as well as a variety of different drill bits to utilize. Okay, we'll come back over into this room for a second. Now, if we pan over to my right, we'll see another door. Like that again connects us into the professional shop. The professional shop, I believe, has already discussed some of these things in their video as well, but we do want to mention that any flammables are kept in here, as well as there are many other components and tools available to students in this section and in this room. So we'll just take one more step back out again. Then we'll wrap things up with our handy-dandy tool chest. Tools are available to students to fully utilize with this. Anything that does come out of the room needs to go back in the room. Everything needs to be put away properly and well so that other students can utilize it. And at this point, I basically wrap up the tour for the room. I'd like to thank you all for wandering around with me, and if you have any questions or comments, please direct it to me. Again, Dominic Steinhauer, and I'll do my best to answer it as quickly as possible. Thank you.